shot taken by Sandy Campbell. He's in the picture here, but he had his camera on a tripod and he ran down to get in the photograph. That's why he's right in the middle. But there's a lot of people that are no longer with us here, like Ira Kravitsky, Norman Olson, Bob Kingman, Sandy, of course, Gary Grohl, Ricky Carbone, and way over here we have Doug Diamond. And a lot of you can probably see yourselves in the picture here. Okay. This year you received volume 3 of the BMT book. The IRT book will be the next book to come out. This is the cover of volume 1. The title will be The Construction of the System. We've just come into a very lucky situation where we're going to get access to a lot of material that we are very lucky to have. And if you notice, there's 3 authors listed: my name, Jeff Ehrlich, and Ed Crew. And if everything goes well, this could be out by the end of this year, but we'll see. The cover photograph was taken on October 23rd, 1991 from NYCHA building, Dyckman building number 1 at 177 Nagel Avenue. These are 2 number 1 trains, and when they're 62As, we're still relatively clean. All right, turn up your volume, everybody. This one's a little low, but I have a little tradition of Eddie McKernan introducing the show, so make sure your volume is turned up and listen to Eddie's introduction. A lot of you know Eddie McKernan, and we'll explain where we are shortly.
Actually, don't hear him.
Not hearing?
No.
All right, hold on one sec. Let me unshare the screen. I think I know what I did.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me stop sharing.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, no.
You see?
Yeah.
You see the video?
Yes.
Okay, I fixed it. There's a little glitch in Zoom that you got to make sure you do.
Welcome everybody to the February show of the ERA. And I bet you didn't know that the BMT got up to the Bronx, got up to the mainland of the United States. Well, we got proof here, right behind me. Those columns are from the Jamaica Avenue L. When it was torn down, it was brought up here to the Tiffany Avenue shops in the Bronx. You got Redbird's 89, 12, and 13 up there. Now, I'm a lifetime member of the Electric Railroaders Association. I'm also a lifetime member of the American Truck Historical Society, the Long Island chapter, and the Metro Jersey chapter. So we got a truck here. So we got everything. We even got Maria's 2009 Impala. Seeing the USA in her Chevrolet. Boy, is she going to be mad at me. This is Valentine's Day. Enjoy the show.
All right, I'm going to have to stop share again for a second.
Okay.
Give me a second. It's always a glitch.
Yeah, let's zoom for you.
You see the original photo up there?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So Tiffany Iron Shops is in the Bronx on Tiffany Avenue. It's where all the work is done to fix our elevated structures. If there's a pillar that needs fixing, they do other stuff, other ironwork type of stuff here. But this is the main entrance. But of course, the reason people take pictures here is for this. This is a section of the Jamaica Avenue L. After it was torn down in 1977, it was brought up here. And after the Redbirds were retired, they brought a married pair of R33s and placed them with a crane on top of the structure. No, this is not walking under Jamaica Avenue, but this is in the Bronx. And up on the structure, you see the R33s. Looking the other way. And back to the main part of the show. Back in 1991, the 9 trains were still running during the midday. That stopped in long before the line stopped running in 2005. Again, this is from Dyckman Building number 1 at 177 Nagle Avenue. I learned from Jerry Landau that if you walk into someplace with a box of donuts, you can get places. So on this day in 1991, I walked in, went to the security office, and they let me on the building, on the rooftop. This is looking towards 207th Street Yard. Can you see my cursor here? This is 207th Street Yard here. This is the Harlem River. This is a 1 train and the 9 train. And this is a big pile of rock salt here, if you can see my cursor. This is the Axo Salt Incorporated storage pile. This is long gone. This is a parking lot now. They no longer store rock salt here. Again, from the same building. We're looking at 184 to 208 Nagle Avenue. These are these apartment buildings on the west side of Nagle Avenue. Now we're on the street, Fort George Hill. This is 101 to 107 Dyckman Street. There's no entrances on Dyckman Street. There's an entrance on Nagle Avenue and on the other side of the building here. The date on this is March the 29th, 1986. If you're familiar with the 62As, this is when they were brand new. This particular car is now in the middle of a 5-car unit. So you can't get this photograph anymore because this car will never be on the front end of a train again. Every R62A in existence ran on the number 1 line first before it was transferred to other lines. The low numbered cars like this one would end up on the 6th line. The middle group of cars, the 1900s, 2000s, and low 2100s, they would end up on the 3. And the high numbered cars would end up on the 1. But this is an R29, number 8643, laid up during the midday on a weekend. This would be rebuilt as a Redbird and go into service on the 6th line with the rest of the 29s in the group 8570 to 8687. We'll see if you like photographs like this, hang around to the very end if we make it that far. This is an R22, 7421, an R15, 5956. There's an R14 there. This is at Saratoga Avenue. The R21s would last until the end of 1987. The R15s and the R14s would last to December 1984. This is when the 3 train was still a 9-car operation. It went to 10 cars in the early 2000s when the R62s were transferred there. This is the cover photo, if you might say that, cover photo for the presentation. In 1984, the low voltage trailer rider cars were still rolling around. This is RD 312. That's former 3rd Avenue trailer 5340. That's where it ran until the end of his passenger existence in 1969. Then it went into work service. This car was delivered to the IRT on June the 4th, 1923. It went into service 2 months later on August 20th. It ran until February 1969 on the 3rd Avenue L. It was taken out of all service November 7th, 84, and removed from the property December 14th, 84. This here is an R26, 7812, which at the time was officially assigned to the 6 line. But when the R36s and R33 single units were out being rebuilt, the 7 line borrowed cars from other lines, including the 6 line. Here's an R36, not long after it was painted white. These are brand new hopper cars that are still around today. And this diesel here is an R77 locomotive, which is still around today. This is at the 48th Street Lowry station on the number 7 line. This is March 24th, 1984. You might have seen pictures like this before, because beside me were Glenn Smith and Steve Zabel. We were all on this rooftop on this day in March of '84, photographing the 7 line. This is a preview to what's coming up. September 25, it was down in Washington, D.C. This is the Braddock Road Station. These are the 7000 series WMATA Metro cars. And this is your typical VRE train. We'll get more into the information about these trains when we get into the Washington, D.C. section. This section now will basically be meets of trains, more than one train, and maybe things other than trains also. Now we're back in 1993. These are the original war cars. This is from the King Street station in Alexandria. And there's a northbound Conrail train on the R and P track here. That's an SD50, that's an SD60. These, of course, would go to CSX and Norfolk Southern. This is August the 28th, 1993. As long as we're on the Conrail side of things, this is in Poughkeepsie with the venerable FL9s laid up for the weekend. And this is a very late SEOP, Selkirk to Oak Point train. And these are 3 C32-8s on the front. Only 10 of these were ever built, and 30% of them are right here in this photograph. This is August 5th, 1990. This is the Lansdale station on SEPTA. Again, this section is a section showing 2 trains passing each other and whatnot. That's a Silver Line of 4 on the left, the trains that were giving SEPTA all the problems for the past couple of months, but they're pretty much back in service now. And here we have a Jeep 38-2 in Conrail service, and one that's assigned to the Conrail Philadelphia division. And you can see the seal on the side here. Again, this is Lansdale Station. Conrail no longer runs this service, of course, and neither does CSX. It's run by a short line now. Roselle Park, New Jersey. The train on the left originated at Raritan and is on its way to Newark, where it will relay beyond the Harrison Pass Station. And on the right, we have a westbound Conrail train led by an SD40-2. This is Lawrence, Massachusetts. Guilford is long gone now. It became Pan Am Railways, and now it's CSX and Berkshire Eastern. This is your typical MBTA commuter train. We'll get more into that in the Boston section, but this is Lawrence, Massachusetts. And the date of this is April the 23rd, 1994. While we're in Boston, the midday layup yard for Southampton in Boston is on the left. Amtrak uses this also. And some 01700s on the red line accessing Cabot Yard. These are not regular mainline tracks. These are yard leads here. Okay. South Amboy in the good old days. This is October the 27th, 1984. These are all my photographs. If there's a photograph that's not mine, I'll let you know. You'll know it's not mine because it was taken before I was born. That's an E8, 4267. That's ex Pennsylvania Railroad, 5791A. And that's a former E60 that Amtrak transferred to NJ Transit to replace the GG1s that NJ Transit was using from South Amboy North. September 20th, 03. It's hard to believe that these are all gone now, except for one. These are the ALP 44s, built in 1995 and 1997. This is at the Great Notch Yard. Okay, so we're at Harrison. We have a PA4 on the left and an arrow 3 on the right. Give me 1 second. This is June the 27th, 1989. And of course, this is not one of my photographs. These are MP54s entering the Harrison station. The gas tanks are no longer there, of course, but this is what the arrows replaced, these MP54s. And these date back to 1912, these particular cars. Still at Harrison. What's SEPTA doing at Harrison? No, this is not Thanksgiving weekend. This is a train set that is borrowed from SEPTA. At the time, this is April 9th, 1993. At the time, the SEPTA's Railworks project was going on in Philadelphia, where they had to run extra diesel trains, and they borrowed 3 U-34CHs from NJ Transit. And in exchange, SEPTA lent an AAM-7 with a Bombardier set for NJ Transit's use. This train was going to South Amboy. And what is supposed to be at Harrison, that's a PA2 on the left, long gone, and that's an AAM-7 on the right, also long gone. The Amfleet cars are, of course, still running, but to be replaced over the next couple of years. That's number 916. The first set of 30, 900 to 929, was delivered to Amtrak from November of 1979 to August 1981. The first one going into service September 9th, 1980. Okay. So this is path crossing the Hackensack River. Believe it or not, this is part of the former Pennsylvania Railroad main line to the Exchange Place station in Jersey City on these same tracks. This is eastbound. This bridge connects Kearny to Jersey City. It's still there today. It's known as the Path Lift Bridge. It was built by the Pennsylvania Railroad in 1900, and it was used by the Pennsylvania Railroad until 1910 upon the opening of Penn Station. But these tracks also led to the Exchange Place station in Jersey City. And here you have MP54s at the Exchange Place station in Jersey City. This is one of my favorite path train shots. Okay. Just give me 1 second. September 17th, 84, there's a PA1s and PA2s just east of Newark Penn Station. As a matter of fact, I'm standing on a platform at Newark Penn Station looking to the northeast. Path only started coming here to the using this bridge in 19 pardon me. PATH did not originally come to this station. The Harrison station that we know today was not used by the Hudson and Manhattan until the tracks here opened. There used to be another track in Jersey City. Excuse me. And PA 5s at Journal to the east of Journal Square. I'm sorry, let's go back to this. This bridge was PATH, well, Hudson and Manhattan first came to this station on June the 20th, 1937, before the old station in Newark was abandoned. This is April 9th, 2011, east of Journal Square. The former Pennsylvania Railroad main line is on the other side of the rocks here, which went to Exchange Place, still used by freight trains today. That's Jersey City in the background. That's 30 Hudson Street. Back to Philadelphia. This was on a fan trip, a Blue Liner fan trip, although they're not Blue Liners anymore. These were rebuilt in from 1963 to 1965, 38 cars, 9101 to 9138. They were formerly in the 800 series and the 300 series. This is at the Glenside station. These cars were built by Bethlehem Steel from 1931 to 1933. Same day at Paoli. This is June 5th, 1988. This is not a fan trip. This is regular service. The Norristown line cars were getting pretty old by this time. The Stratford cars were already gone, possibly except for one in 1987. This is July the 24th, 1987. They got some PCC sets from Chicago. These used to run on the Ravenswood line and were replaced by Bud cars up to the 2601 to 3200 series. And these are the Bullet cars from 1931. And this is at the West Overbrook station, July 24th, 87. This is regular service. The PCC is on a fan trip, but the trolley bus is regular service. These were numbered 800 to 909. They had 110 of these, and they're replaced by the 800 series today, but only a few of the north side. The 66 is running and the 79, 75, basically just the 66 running now. So they're down to about a quarter of the number of trolley buses that they originally had. Same day, this is in Germantown Depot. The 2740 is on a PCC fan trip, but that's the just retired TDH 5306A, it's a GM from 1969. Up to Boston. This is a fan trip. The ERA was up there on their convention. And of course, we have the Type 5, and you have 1985 RTS here. This is on Huntington Avenue. One second. Okay. This is at Cambridge Terminal. This is June the 14th, 1958. This is another fan trip, but it was using 5645 that day. And here you have a wartime PCC. These are from the Richard Braun collection. He willed his collection to the ERA many years ago. And as long as we're on the subject of trains meeting each other, this was in 2021. This is south of the Harrison Street curve in Boston. That's two Green Line trains about to meet each other. More trains meeting each other. This is a Woodlawn. It's an M1, and we have the ACMUs here. But let's take a look at what the ACMUs looked like when they were relatively new. That's 4610. It was later renumbered into the 1100 series. So the M7s replaced these cars. Let's see what the M1s replaced. These are the New York Central MUs. This is up at Mott Haven. Date of this picture is March of 1967. And these MUs date from the about 1908 all the way into the 1920s. But this is what the M1s replaced. Okay, this is New Rochelle. Northbound ACS 64 and Amtrak going to Boston. And newest cars running on Metro North, the M8s, of course. Now the M8s replaced the M2s. The M2s replaced the washboards. Let's take a look at what the washboards replaced. Okay, these are the 1911 open gate MUs that ran on the New Haven line. There were 26 of these. The car at the rear end, that's car 4650. That's an open platform combine. There were two of these, 4650 and 51. These were built in 1912. The car with the pantograph here, those were the motors. There were 8 of those built in 1911 and 1912 by Standard Steel. The car down here without the pantograph, those are the 4200s. There were 16 of those built from 1909 to 1912, and these were controlled trailers, just like this 4650 is also a controlled trailer. Let's take a closer look at the motors. This is at Mount Vernon, by the way. Here's one of the 4000 series motors. It's 4024, so this is a 1912 car. This is a 4200 series car, one of the controlled trailers. And these were replaced by the washboards. There were also 2 wooden MUs, open gate MUs, motor cars. They were numbered 4010 and 4011. They were specifically built to run on the New Canaan line, New Canaan branch from Stamford up to New Canaan. One of the cars, 4010, burned to its trucks shortly after it went into service, 1 year after it went into service in 1910. Those 2 cars were put into service in 1909, and then 4011 didn't really have anything to run with. So that was it for that until they got the steel cars, the standard steel cars. Like I said, there were only 26 of these. Most of what ran on the New Haven line was run with electric motors. And this is what they look like at the end. This is 4021, one of the 1911 cars. This is with the pantographs taken off and being ready. This is on the Cedar Hill scrap line in June of 1956. And these 2 shots here, they're the only known Kodachromes that I know of these cars in service. This is on the scrap line. And we've saw the oldest electric equipment that would run on what we become Metro North. Let's take a look at the newest electric equipment, or dual mode equipment, that is. It does have third rail shoes. let's take a look at one of the new Siemens Chargers coming into the Garrison station on its way to Poughkeepsie. So this was taken last weekend. This is engine 304. 304 and 305 are basically the ones running. The other ones are still getting the bugs worked out of them. This was last weekend. Get that to the end. Go to the next. Okay. We also have meets between buses and trains. This is 125th Street and Park Avenue. This is a shot I took in, just give me 1 second. Get to my spot here. Okay. All right. This is taken in 1984. What we're looking at here is a New York City Transit Authority bus running on Mapstoa. That's a T6H5305A. There were 200 of these, numbered 4300 to 4499. This bus was not rebuilt, but let's take a little closer look at the FL9s. If you didn't know it, some of these were renumbered into the 500 series for a brief period. This is former New Haven FL9, number 2041. It eventually became FL9 2014 in the Metro North numbering scheme, and the one behind it became FL9 2013. Now take note, over here you have these SEMTA cars. When the Detroit commuter system went under, no longer carried passengers, Metro North got a couple of sets of the SEMTA cars. All right. Bus and train again. This is up in Dudley Square, August 30th, 1986. The Washington Street L, the old main line L, would be torn down in May of 1987. It would go out of service in 1987. More at Dudley Street. This is the old setup at Dudley. It's now known as Nubian. And along Archer Avenue back in New York, that's a 1986 RTS with an M1 up above heading towards Jamaica. Date of this is August the 27th, 1991. So 35 years ago. Hicksville, this is June 11th, 1995, a mere 31 years ago. MESBA had 53 of these, 850 to 902, 53096-8-1s from 1978. Again, this is at Hicksville. This was a crazy shot. This Long Island Railroad train was sitting at the grade crossing for an extended period. So that's why the crossing gate is up. So I just stood here and waited for a bus to come by to get this. And this is a light afternoon Triborough coach RTS that's going to go into service on the QM11, passing by on Borden Avenue. This is just east of the Pulaski Bridge. And of course, that's a Long Island Railroad Jeep 38. Date on this is February the 13th, 1989. And at the mouth of the Midtown Tunnel, more Jeep 38s laid up during the midday at Long Island City. This is one of their classics. They had 50 of these from 1988. Of course, these are all gone. And no, that's not New York bus service. That's Caravan Transportation. They took over for about 2 years some of the Queens Surface routes, but Queens Surface eventually took them back. So this only ran from late 1988 till early 1990. That's an ex-NJ Transit Flexible, believe it or not, from the 1970s. This one doesn't have a train in it, but if you're from New York, you know where this is. This today comprises 2 lanes of the Long Island Expressway heading westbound. This was during the reconstruction of the Long Island Railroad overpass over the Long Island Expressway. I hung out here a while hoping to get a bus with a train of M1s going by or M3s, but that never happened. This is April 28th, 1989. Again, this is Caravan Bus Systems. That's an ex-New York Bus Service GM. This is 146th Street and Jamaica Avenue. That's a set of R16s up above, laid up. And below is the next Mapstoa 1974 Flexible. This is April the 6th, 1985. As long as we're on the subject of flexibles, we'll go back to Dudley. That is a 1972 flexible 111 CD D51. And of course, all the Orange Line cars, the Hawker Siddeley cars are gone. These have all been replaced by the CRRC cars. We'll see a video of these cars later on. And in the Bronx, another flexible underneath an L structure, this time with a northbound number 5 train. This is just to the east of the Prospect Avenue station. This is the original PS 60 here. Now it's PS 333X. That building opened in 1921. You can't get this anymore. This was during 1984 when the South Bronx was still the South Bronx with all the abandoned buildings. You can see it looks like 1945 Berlin here. Let's take a look at the next picture. This is what the South Bronx looked like in 1984. Okay. That's a Plymouth Grand Fury. I believe it's a 1982 or 83. But there used to be apartment buildings here. The nearest intersection is Charlotte Street and Seabury. This is March 4th, 84. If you come here today, there's all new construction. All these old apartment buildings are gone, and you would never believe that this is the same place. This is another rooftop shot. I was up here with Gregory Campolo this day, looking towards the old Kingsbridge bus depot, but of course, that was the Kingsbridge division of the 3rd Avenue Railways. Relatively new R62As passing by, and a whole slew of 1981 and these are all 1981 RTSs assigned to Kingsbridge. This was a weird one. I was riding my bike one day and came across this. I always had my camera with me. This is March 15th, 1989. The bus is a Blitz rebuild, ex-former 6286 and 1973 T6H 5310A. The R46 is going out for rebuilding. This was originally delivered on July the 21st, 1976, basically over the same tracks that you see in the foreground. It would come back and eventually it would come back rebuilt, eventually rebuilt as R46 5748. It would return into service on July 24th, 1990, over a year later. And it was renumbered 5748, July 18th, 94. You don't like it with a GM fishbowl? Let's get it with an RTS, 3400 series RTS from 1984. As you can see, the cars were brought down on their own trucks to the South Brooklyn and lifted onto a trailer here and shipped out to Morrison Knudsen to get rebuilt. This is 2nd Avenue and 39th Street. My back is to 38th Street. And when they came back, they look like this. This is an Oak Island yard in New Jersey. This is August the 18th, 1991. This is car 1212 and car 1213 plus about 7 or 8 others. Don't try to go to Oak Island Yard today and get pictures. You will leave in handcuffs. For all you MBS people on the show tonight, that's a 1976 GMC T6H5307A, and that's a Blitz rebuild, former 6093. And down at Battery Place, 2 express blitzes. And back to trains, of course. Train on the left is an M3, 9783. The diesel on the right, actually a power pack unit, no prime mover. That's Alco FA1, of course. It's former Western Maryland 301 that it was built as a locomotive in January of 1951. This was scrapped in October of 1998. The date on this is February the 22nd, 1987, and we're at Queens Village. All right, we're still... Now, the M3s didn't really replace anything, but they replaced diesel trains out to Ronkonkoma, but the M1s actually replaced something. And let's see what the M1s replaced. This is MP54 at Nostrand Avenue. This is May the 1st, 1969. This is January 16th, 1969. That's an MP75C built in 1963. This was converted initially to a controlled trailer in April of 73 to car 5536. It eventually became a push-pull trailer, number 2723, eventually being replaced by the C3s starting in 1999. This is the Bel Air station. This is at 212th Street. The Queens Village station is in the distance. The Bel Air station opened March the 20th, 1900, as the Interstate Park station there was a shooting range and casino there. It became Bel Air in 1907 after that business went out. And this station was closed June the 26th, 1972. This picture was taken March the 16th, 1969. All right, let's get back to 2 trains together. Oh, I forgot about that. This is Penn Station. Before all the fluorescent lighting. All right, back to the 2 trains together. This was an excursion running that day. That's R33 single, 9306. And this an R62A. The 62As were on the 7 until the arrival of the R188s in 2012. This picture was taken August the 23rd, 2003 at the 33rd Street station. This is April the 16th, 1996 at 238th Street, Nereid. That's a R33 Redbird, number 9025, the R110A, ran from December 92. So it was delivered in December 92, ran from 93 to 98. And this is what they look like today. The A cars went out for rebuilding as pump cars, and 8005 and 8001 were delivered back to NYCT within the last month and a half. And here they are sitting in Coney Island waiting for testing. The whole unit is called PCO4. It's PCO4 on either car, but this is P8005, that's P8001. That's the original R110A numbers. And this is the 8001 end. Okay, back to this. Second date on this, July the 16th, 2002 at Sutter Avenue. That's a brand new R143. You can tell it's brand new because it doesn't have the footsteps here. People were climbing up on the train and having trouble staying on, so they created a little space over here to put your feet when you climbed up. Now that it's CBTC, the only new tech trains can run here, and the L line CBTC is different from the other CBTC, so only cars 8101 to 8376, those are 143s and some 160s, can run on the L line in ATO or ATPM. Not going to get into CBTC too much here, it'll take too long. This is September 22nd, 2001. Shortly after September 11th, the J trains were running to 95th Street. The M trains were running to Coney Island on the N line, and the Q line was running a mix of Jamaica cars and other cars. These R32s were actually assigned to Jamaica Yard at the time. Okay. Smith 9th Street. This is November the 22nd, 1986. Speaking of the World Trade Center, when the R32s were still running on the G before they were rebuilt. When the 46s came back from rebuilding, they didn't look the same. Of course, the blue stripe was taken off, and this little flap under the seal beam here was removed. And these are the original couplers. See, the electric portions are on either side. When they came back from rebuilding, the electric portions were under the coupler in only one spot. And if you want to count them, those are 93 pins. Okay. September 7th, 2002. This is at the 88th Street station. Rebuilt R38s, that's 4066. Rebuilt R44s, that's 5464. The R44s were taken out of service in 2010 and 2011 because of structural issues. The ones were on the A line. This is looking north of 111th Street. This is what the 44s looked like before rebuilding. Now, one of the differences between the 44s and the 46s, let me zoom on over here, this little handhold over here for climbing up, that does not exist on the 44s. And there's a little plate over here on either side of the anti-climber, which does not exist on the 46s. And the sunset view at 111th Street. This is November the 23rd, 1992. When the 44s came back from building, they were still clean looking before they got too much steel dust on them. Got this. And I also have meets of trains while in motion. The next one was taken during one of the parade of trains that ran out of the Brighton Beach. Okay, take a closer look at that R10. This is the latest incarnation of an R10 in museum service. This is the late 1960s paint scheme, the silver and blue paint scheme. Was instituted, started in very, very late 1969, mostly in 1970. The middle car on this has the original paint scheme from 1948. And of course, the R16 on the end here in its original paint scheme. And of course, that's an R68A over there. All right. We've gone from 2 trains. Now we're going to see a compilation of 3 trains together. This is Canarsie Yard earlier this year while I was doing a CBTC class out there. This is during the morning rush hour, just before the sunrise, and all these trains are getting ready to go into service in the morning rush hour. Okay. This shot was taken actually about a week ago. It's going to be hard to get a shot like this very soon. This is an area called the Apple Tracks in Coney Island Yard. This is Apple 11, 10, and 9. 3 sets of 46s waiting to go in service on the Sea Beach line. While we're in Coney Island, you have an R46, and the trains that are replacing them here, these are the R211s. The initial order will be 1,100 cars. They're getting another 300 plus cars in the next option, plus 80 more of the open gangway cars for the G line. But by the end of 2027, I imagine all these 46s will be gone, at least from service. Again, in Coney Island Yard, we have an R211, an R46, and an R160. Okay. Most of these shots taken in yards were taken in the course of business with transit. Like this photo was actually used for a manual that I put together. Okay, Corona Yard, 5:20 in the morning. On my way to work one day, and the Corona line is completely R188s now. They have 46 11-car sets of these. When the 188s were starting to enter service on the Corona line, you can get them with shots with the R62As, and this was here for an excursion. So there's 3 generations of 7-line cars. If we had an R12 and a 14, we had the R12 here, plus a low V, Steinway low V. That would circle everything out. Okay. What we have here are 3 different New Tech trains. This is an R160 on the left, if you can't see the cursor. This is an R179 in the middle, Bombardier. And this is an R143 from Kawasaki. The difference between the 143 and the 160 is very subtle. But when the 143s were first delivered, the MTA seal was already on top. So after September 11th of 01, it was decided to put American flags on all the cars, but the only space on the R143s was below the seal. A train service supervisor complained about this, and when the R160s were delivered, the flag was put on top, and with all cars thereafter. Another difference between the 143s and the 160s is the toe plate here. You can see that this was an add-on here. You see the bolts? This was not here when the cars were new. Remember that shot of the 143 I showed you previously. But if you look at the 160, it was built with the toe area in there. So you can put your foot in there while climbing up. And the 179s, the biggest difference of course, is that the silver lining goes across the top. And the 143s and the 160s, the bonnet is all black on top. There's other differences, but we'll keep moving. 3 R156 locomotives. These are diesel locomotives that were delivered from 2012 to 2014. It's very difficult to get 3 of these together. So, of course, I made a beeline over here during a break to get these 3 together in Coney Island Yard. That's Coney Island overall shop in the background. Okay. 38th Street Yard. We have three different types of locomotives here. Way over here on the left is a Republic locomotive. There's 7 of these. These were delivered in 1991, number 903 to 909. These are the GE locomotives in their original configuration before rebuilding. The R37s up to the R52s, delivered from 1965 into the 70s, basically all look like this. They're numbered 50 through 82. The R77s are numbered 883 to 902. They were originally built with similar engines to the older GEs, but they've been rebuilt, and they've had their prime movers replaced with Cummins diesels engines, and they have these solar panels up here to charge certain things. All right, for all you MBS people on the line, on the show, we got a 1989 Classic, we have a 1982 RTS, and we have a 1985 RTS for green. This is at 37th Street, just to the east of 3rd Avenue. And back to trains. This is from a parking lot that no longer exists. We're just to the east of Queensboro Plaza. 1 second here. We'll get more into this parking lot later about what's going on here. But that's an R30 coming from Astoria going to 95th Street. Until May of 87, the R trains, the double R trains, went to Astoria, and the N trains went to Continental. They swapped in May of 87. This is a northbound R32 train, and this is a Times Square bound 7 train led by R36s. This is a Doug Rochon shot. This is one of the shots that didn't make it into the BMT book for various reasons. But all these cars are numbered in the low 1600s. That's 1610, 1607, and there's 1613 above. At the time, there was also an R7 1613, but these are the BMT cars, and these are the IND cars in the same numbering range. Oops. And of course, that's Broadway Myrtle. This is a train bound for Bridge J Street. This KK is going to East New York, and the M train is going to Chambers Street. Okay, SEPTA. This is at Lansdowne. We've got a Silver Line at 5 on the left. 720 is a single unit, 701 to 738. And we have a Silver Line at 4, and we have an ACS 64 push that SEPTA uses for push-pull operations. Okay. ERA convention in Pittsburgh back in 1990. This is May 27th of 90. In the back of South Hills Junction, there were 3 PCC sitting here. 2 were out of service on the left, and this one was on the verge of being retired. This car here, I believe, was still in service at the time. All right, we've gone from 3. Now we're going up to 4. 4 trains together. 38th Street Yard. These are all GEs. These are R77s, and this is one of the older models. 1 second here. Gotta get to my notes. Sure I'm in the right spot. Okay, that's an R43 built in 1971. This diesel number 60. You will never, ever be able to get this again in Rockaway Park. These are 4 R46s, all lined up together. During January of 2025, there was no connecting service from Howard Beach to the Rockaways, so the shuttles were isolated from the rest of the system and running between Rockaway Park and Far Rockaway via Hamels Y. Because they would not be, these trains would not be accessible to maintenance shops, they sent about 48 R46s all at once and laid them up at Rockaway Park. And as trains started having mechanical difficulties, they would lay those up and put in a fresh 4-car set. And it worked. They made service the whole time of the shutdown. Let's see what's replacing these cars. We got 4 R211s up at 207th Street Yard. If you notice, you can't really read the signs. I mistakenly did not adjust the shutter speed. And since the circuitry is AC, the lights are actually blinking on and off every 60th of a second. So this was a 250th of a second, so you didn't see everything. All right, 4 R62As up at Westchester Yard. The diesel barn is on the left. The car barn for the SMEs is on the left, is on the right. Showed this last year. 4 Erie Lackawanna MUs, March 11th, 84, out at Gladstone. These cars ran until August 84, replaced by Arrow 2s and Arrow 3s. 4 Boeing cars up at Boston College in Boston. This car 3543. This car here, 3543, was among a group that actually didn't enter service until 1983. Cars 3535 to 3543 were built in 1978, but they didn't enter service until 1983. Okay. Brunswick, Maryland, we're going to see MARC trains later. This is an F9PH. It's former Maryland DOT 7181, started out as B&O 4580 as an F7A. These are both Clinchfield locomotives, former Clinchfield locomotives. 116 is formerly an F3A, former Clinchfield 800, built December 1948. 118 is a former FP7A, built in February of 1952, and the chassis locomotive here was built in November 72. That's a Jeep 40. Now, this will be the segue to go from 4 trains to 5 trains in one picture. This is MARC engine number 75. This is currently in storage today, this particular locomotive. That's a Jeep 39H-2. It's originally a Milwaukee Road GP40 2050, built in January 1968. This is Brunswick, Maryland, by the way, over July 4th weekend in 1992. As long as we're in the DC commuter district, these are the original VRE cars in 1992. These were built by Mafursa. There were 38 of these built. 33 of them were sold to Connecticut Department of Transportation and run today on the Hartford line. And if everything works out the way they're saying, they're going to take the M8s off the CT rail line beyond New Haven on the corridor and run these together with former Amtrak locomotives, because it's too expensive for them to run the M8s east of New Haven. But we'll see what happens. All right. Now for something completely different, we got 5 trains here. And we got 5 Crown Victoria cabs here. Believe it or not, there's a group of people that was following the Crown Victoria saga until the last one was in operation a few years ago. Anyway, let's go back to Boston, up to Riverside. Now we got 5 LRVs. Now let's go to the history logs. And here's the first LRV, 3400. Back into the Braun Brothers collection. And this is Elliott Yard. This is likely a number 4 car, the old one here. This was not in service. This is taken in 1969. These were all withdrawn in 1963. But this looks like a number 4 car in the 695 to 754 group, built by Bradley in 1928. These are the 1400s that were replaced by the 1800 series cars, Bombardiers. These were built in 1963. I had 92 of these. And of course, you had the Pullman cars, which about half of which is still in service today, being replaced by the CRRC cars. If you don't know where this is, just give me 1 second. All these buildings here are still here today. And this is on John F. Kennedy Street. Behind us is Memorial Drive and the Charles River. This today is a park. This no longer exists. But that's where we are. Elliott Yard, not to be confused with Elliott Square in Boston. All right, back to my photographs. Hoboken, May 10th, 84. 5 sets of Erie Lockhart AMUs. Now we'll go from 5 trains to 6 trains. We have 6 R142s up at East 180th Street Yard. There were 1,030 of these cars built. 1,025 are left in service. Unfortunately, one set, 6346, was involved in a tragedy at 110th Street where the train operator died from smoke inhalation. Train operator Goebel. His picture is on the wall in a beautiful mural at Flatbush Avenue Terminal where he operated out of. Okay, so we got 6 R142s. And we have 6 R188s at Corona Yard, taken during a late afternoon. 6 R68s and R68As at Concourse Yard. They're all in B service. This one was just missigned. This is looking north in Concourse Yard. We'll go from 6 trains to 7 trains. This is Canarsie Yard, right before the morning rush hour, with R143s and R160s. Pre-dawn shot. Seven R188s at Corona Yard. Now let's go from 7 trains to 8 trains. 8 R68s and 68As at Stillwell Yard over a holiday weekend. You can't get this anymore because odds are against you, because about half the service on the B line is comprised of R211A cars now. You got 8 R68s. Let's go to 8 trains at East New York Yard. This is from the roof of the tower. The best way to show train operators how East New York Yard is to go to the roof of the tower. so you can see all the tracks and where they go and all the switches and all that. Okay, so we got 8 New Tech trains. Let's see 8 R62s, 62As, I should say. This is 248th Street Yard with 8 R62As, you would think, but there's an imposter here. Let's look over here. See if you see anything different. See the top of the pantograph here? It's flat. Top of the pantograph, you can't really see it in the picture, but the top of this pantograph is more rounded. And if you look here where the electric portion is, this one looks squarer and this one looks more rectangular. That's because this is an R62A and that is an R62. The R62A has 3 rows of electric portion pins. The R62s have 4 rows. So the box is different. We'll see a closer up look of those cars later on. So we got 8 R62s, 62As. We go from 8 to 9 trains in a row. This is before the arrival of the 160s, when there were still R32s running on the Fox, and when the 46s still made up most of the F line. This is Culver Yard, otherwise known as City Yard, with Luna Park in the background. Now, if 9 isn't good enough for you, let's go to 10. 38th Street Yard. I actually used this one in a work train manual. It was going to be a busy night on a weekend, so all the work trains on this Friday were put together to go out over the weekend. So if you came back here the next day on the Saturday, most of these trains were gone because they were on weekend general orders doing various work. All right. I don't have one with 11 trains, but I do have one with 13 buses. This is at Castleton. These are 1981 express buses with a few 1985s in there. Castleton Depot, and it was mostly all RTSs. This was taken October the 16th, 1993, before the Orions made their presence felt in the Staten Island Express service. Now for something completely different. Okay, now I'm going to give time for this video to buffer. It's a long video, but this is Reading in Northern 2102. The date, September 30th, 2025. The location is Penobscot, Pennsylvania, and there was an excursion from Penobscot down to Jim Thorpe. This is a 484 locomotive built by Baldwin in March of 25, but it didn't start out as a 484. It was originally an I-10 SA 280 for the Reading. It was rebuilt during September of 1945 as a 484 for heavy coal trains on the Reading. It was retired in 1956. It came back running, but the flue time expired on October 27, 1991. After the rebuilding started in February 2016, it was ready for service in April of 22. So, if you've never seen a T1 locomotive move from a dead stop into motion, you're going to see it now. So turn up the volume. And with the videos, you're going to see a lot more videos coming up. The main thing is for the sound. Some of you, depending on your internet connection, it might come through choppy. But the main thing for these videos is really the sound. So let's go. And these are, of course, former Erie Lackawanna MU trailers. Now, let's see the T1 at speed coming through Glen Summit Springs.
Yeah. Even if I find it.
Somebody's not muted.
Okay.
Okay, then we chase it further south as far as you can, pretty much, because once it gets past Whitehaven, it's basically in the mountains. Or on the hills, mountains, whatever you want to call them. Okay, now the holiday train. R1 to 9s, pictures don't do it. You need the sound. Coming into Lexington and 63rd, January 4th, 2026. Okay, I picked the upgrade to ride because the motors would be running the whole time to accelerate the train. It's an upgrade from 63rd to 72nd.
Okay, here, walk to the end.
Sorry, I can't replicate the smell of the oil burning, but remember the old days of smell-o-vision? That didn't really work. So this was a video I actually took for the conductor of the train to send him, but the video came out pretty well, so I'll show it to you. Said 96. That whistle you heard was from a 4000 series CTA car. Okay, current events. The rail situation in Sydney changed a lot at the beginning of this year. These are the S1 sets. If you're not familiar with Sydney, there's a huge commuter system that it's really an interesting system. If you ever go to Sydney, you can spend a couple of days just photographing the commuter system. And they have some interesting cars too. This was from a trip in 1997. So this is pretty old already. These are the S1 sets. These were retired in 2019. The reason I put this in is because there's a Tulloch trailer that was built in 1964. These sets usually had one of these trailers in there. Well, what was just recently retired were the V sets. These S sets were produced in 1973. The V sets were built from 1970 through 1989, and they had a distinctive look to them. This is a V set. This is at Sydney Central Station, December 9th, 1997. These cars were built by Comeng. You can tell they're a V set because it has the set number right here. So this is the 60th set. In 1997, the system was known as City Rail. Today, it's known as Sydney Trains. All these cars, the last of these cars, I should say, was just retired. So you can't go to Sydney and see these today. But we rented a car and we went into the hinterlands. This is at the Springwood station. This is well west of Sydney. That's set V65. This is December 8th, 1997. Railroading in Australia is quite interesting. As you can see, there's a very big British influence. Just look at the, as Gary Grohl would say, the palatial stations. And this is way out in the middle of nowhere. And the end of the line is Lithgow. This is set V33, same day. They had different series of these. This was a series 4. The train before was a series 5. But in any case, you can see the Bud influence, although they were built in Australia. All right, let's come back to New York. For all you numerologists, this is R211A 4444 in Coney Island Yard. Some of the R211s are delivered through 207th Street, as these are. Some of them were delivered through the SBK, South Brooklyn Railway. But how they get delivered is they'll deliver 2 cars one night, 3 cars the other, or 2 cars, 2 and 1. And then when they're put together as a 5-car set, they're sent down to Coney Island with diesel locomotives. Initially, some of them were going to Pitkin, but Coney Island is the primary place where they're going to first now. Close-up of the 2 cars. These are already in service. These are running on the B train and the G train as we speak, if they're not laid up somewhere after the rush hour. This is Coney Island Barn. This is car 3710 plus an R46. These were just delivered. These are not in service yet. They're not yet in service either. They have to have the final work done on them when they get here. They have to be checked out, inspected. They go on burn-in runs, and then they're put into service. So you should see this set go into service within the next 2 weeks or so. This shot was actually taken 2 weeks ago. This is 207th Street Yard. If you're a retiree, you wouldn't know where you are, because 10 years ago, none of these buildings were here. in the background along 207th Street. This is the new tower. The old tower, which used to seem huge to us, is tucked away in here. In any case, this is R211A set 3595 through 99. This was taken right after the recent snowstorm. And what they're replacing, this is R46 5700 at DeKalb Avenue going south. And we'll see a movie of an R46. They're no longer operating on the C or the A. That's why I threw this in here. On the G line, you have 6242. This car has since been scrapped. This was taken on February 4th, 2025. This car is off the property and gone. Now we'll see another movie, this time on the G line at Broadway. The intention is to save an operable 4-car set for excursions. Bob, are you there?
Yes. Uh-huh.
All right, just give me 1 second. How many we got?
We're at 105. Our high level was 114.
Okay, when it gets to 60, let me know, please.
60? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
After we get to 60, I'll start to wrap it up.
Okay.
Okay,
Very
the
good.
211, these are not 211As, these are not 211Ts. Hold on 1 sec. I think I... Yeah, I hit the... All right, these are the 211Ts. These are the open gangway cars. In previous shows, I showed multiple movies inside and out of these. All the 211Ts, there's 4 sets, 4 or 5-car sets, are assigned to the G line right now, and the remainder are 211As. An R46 did run in G service about 3 weeks ago, so you still might see one show up. You can even see a 68 show up. But eventually, they're going to get in another 80 of the 211Ts, and the G line will be completely open gangway trains, and that'll be the only line that runs them. At least that's what's planned for now. Now we'll see a 211A coming up Hoyt Street. Staten Island they don't have 211As, they don't have 211Ts, they have 211Ss. There are 75 cars. This is during the tail end of evening rush. The Diamond Orange SIs from Staten Island, that's a train that ran express to Great Kills. This is a local going back to St. George. The expresses only run during the rush hour. This is at Tottenville. This is May 2nd of 25. When these cars were still relatively brand new. R44s still run in Staten Island. Occasionally, you'll see one train. Back in December, there were 3 trains running one day. They're keeping a couple of sets as a contingency. We'll see what happens in the future, how long they keep the R44s or what they're going to do in the future. The R44s still have couplers, unlike our R46s, which have link bars between the sets. They only have couplers on the outer ends of the 4-car sets. All the 44s have couplers. So if something goes wrong with 413, they can put another car in there so they can make service. So this is an A car. This is number 1 of an A car, and this is a B car. Both ends are blind ends in the B cars. And this is the number 2 end of an A car, and this is the number 1 or 2 end of a B car. See Arthur Kill on the left over here. There used to be a ferry service to Perth Amboy across Arthur Kill. That's gone long ago. There's 144 again. Okay, take a look at some other stuff now. This is Coney Island Yards. These are the R255s. There's 17 of them on the property now. The initial option will be for 25 of these. With the second option, there'll be 54 of these. They can start retiring some of the oldest diesel locomotives. These are hybrid locomotives. They can operate on battery or diesel. In a general order, if they're underground and they're doing 7 miles an hour or less, the diesel automatically shuts off and it goes to battery mode. If it goes above 7 miles an hour underground, the diesel kicks in. Outdoors, the diesel kicks in. It has something called a GO link on it. It knows when it's underground, when it's not in contact with a satellite anymore. So it knows to look to go into battery mode if it's 7 miles an hour or less. Okay? And you can override the system. You can make it stay in battery, or you can make it stay in diesel mode. And the great thing about it is if the battery goes below 20%, the diesel automatically kicks in to recharge the battery. When the battery gets to 85%, the diesel shuts down again and the battery takes over. It doesn't have to go to 100. These batteries have no memory. The battery stack is over here. The batteries are stacked on top of one another. And here's an R255 being delivered in March of 2025. This is HL007, Hybrid Locomotive 007. This is at Linden Yard. They're shipped in by rail. They come across New York Harbor. They go to Bay Ridge, and they come up the Bay Ridge line, change ends, and go into Linden Yard. I had a work train class here that day, so we stood around to show the new work train people how this works, how they get it off the flat car. Here's my ubiquitous camera bag there with all my other stuff. And all of our diesel locomotives have 12-point connectors. Most railroads have 27-point connectors. So this is a jumper cable. One end is black, that's a 27-point, and the other end is red. So these can MU with an R156. There's another jumper cable in a cabinet that's black on both ends, which allows 2 R255s to MU with one another. Okay. So now they're setting up the ramp. It's like a Lego set to put the ramp together. Here's the ramp complete. I don't have time to show everything, but basically they take another diesel, push 2 flat cars up, hook up to the R255, and pull it off. And this is what they look like secured to the flat car. And once the ramp is in and they're ready to hook up to the flat cars, they'll put air in the system to release the parking brakes and move the diesel. While we're at Linden, if you didn't know it, Linden Shop, if you drive along Linden Boulevard, you see this nondescript, looks like a factory building, but in here is where all our tracks for elevated structures are assembled and put together. They can create an entire diamond crossover that goes onto an L structure here. Once the diamond crossover is completely put in together, complete with third rails, what they do is they cut it up into pieces. And they number all the pieces, of course. And all those pieces are brought by tractor trailer to the place where they need to be installed, and they put the pieces back together. And they know they'll all fit because they just cut them all apart. And this saves a lot of time from actually assembling an entire switch on site. So you can install an entire diamond crossover over a weekend. But anyway, when the 32s were first going out for scrap in 2022, they were going out on flat cars to Ashtabula, Ohio, to be scrapped. That has since been abandoned, and they go out on their own wheels across, on barges across New York Harbor to New Jersey to be scrapped. But this is in the Brooklyn Army Terminal in 2022 when the first cars were going out. This is the Brooklyn Army Terminal on the left. There's New York Harbor in the background. And these are the locomotives that they use to move them. These are New York and New Jersey clean emission locomotives. These are built by Knoxville Locomotive Works. These are SE10Bs. They just only, 10 of these were built. There are 5 running in the Houston area for Chevron. They're painted blue. And there's one on the San Francisco Belt Railroad, obviously in San Francisco. And there's one running in the Stockton Terminal in the Eastern Railroad in California. New York and New Jersey has 3 of them. 5102 was on the New Jersey side this day. This is 5101 and 5103. Here's hybrid locomotive 016 right after delivery. It's not in service yet. They haven't taken the protective tape off yet. This is in Westchester Yard. This is when it was brand new. Okay, now we'll start looking at different types. This is the newest R156 from 2014. Well, let me go back to that. These were built by MPI, Motive Power Industries, which was taken over by Wabtec. So these were actually built in Boise. The hybrid locomotives, the R255s, are actually built by Wabtec in Erie, Pennsylvania. And one of the South Brooklyn locomotives, N2, was rebuilt, was repowered with the Cummins prime mover. This is Tier 4 compliant and uses DEF, diesel exhaust fluid. So all the rebuilt and new locomotives that NYC gets will be Tier 4 compliant. This was the first Republic to be rebuilt to be Tier 4 compliant. This was rebuilt with the Cummins prime movers and engine. This is in Westchester Yard. This is one of our rider cars. These third rail shoes down here. They're just scraper shoes, and not all of the third rail shoe is in here. When it's icy or snowy, they put the whole third rail shoe on here, but the shoe beams are insulated, not connected to anything. There's no bus leads to the other side or to the other trucks. These rider cars are used by contractors and workers to be moved in work sites or to work sites. These are former Redbirds. This one is former R33 9039. These are R161s. That's the contract number when they got rebuilt. Okay. We have 18 of these, R134s and R127s. The first 9, EP001 to EP09, EP stands for electric propulsion. The R127s have 2 ribs over here. The R134s only have the top ribs, so that's how you can tell the difference other than the number. I'm sorry, the 127s go up to EP0010. 11 through 18 are the 134s. This is Corona Yard. This is on a train called 7 Ash. It's a refuse train, but it's called 7 Ash. It's called 7 Ash because a train like this used to go up and down the Corona line and the Astoria line for that matter, picking up ash from the potbelly stoves along the way. And if you're an employee and you listen to the radio at night, you can hear control talking to 7 Ash. This is 38th Street Yard. The B Division refuse trains, the B Division is the IND and the BMT, the bigger, the wider cars, 10-foot cars, 10-foot wide cars. The B Division refuse trains are run or operated by R42s in the 4790 to 4839 range. 4816 through 19 have been scrapped. But these flat cars are the only flat cars on the NYCT system that have H2C couplers. And they have all the pins, all the electric portions that the R42s have. So when you take power in this set of R42s, power is taken in the other set. And all the other electrical stuff too, the buzzers go through and all that. But this is track 36 and 38th Street Yard. All right. While we're looking at R42s, look at some of my shots that I took when I was a kid, 17, 18 years old. My old home station was 9th Avenue. This is R42 4816. This was a refuse car, but it was damaged in 2022 and since been scrapped. Here, this is 9th Avenue, March 13th, 84. Let's move on. Same day, on the other side, after I came home, they were doing some work to make the R42s look a little better. They hadn't scrubbed them down yet, but they repainted the front. They put the blue doors. So at least coming at you, they look like a really nice train. These were the pre-1979 roll signs. This is southbound at 9th Avenue. This is from the parking garage at Queensboro Plaza. This was taken March 24th, 84. Same day we were here to photograph the R62 test train on the 7 line. Me and Glenn Smith, John Graham were here this day. But that's a northbound double R train heading to Astoria. This is just east of the Queensboro Plaza station. This was June 24th, 25. These are refuse trains waiting to have their turn to have the refuse unloaded on track 58 in 207th Street Yard. The Redbirds are pulling an IRT refuse train. Their R42s are pulling a B Division refuse train. The Redbird train has just come off the 207th Street flyover and is being staged up here until track 58 is free. Okay, so the Redbirds are compatible with the R62As. The Redbirds and R62As are not compatible with the EP cars. So the EP cars can only operate in trains by themselves with the R58 flat cars. So over this summer, they wanted to give the crews some air conditioning. So I was waiting for this refuse train to come through Grand Central. It had the R58 flat cars, a Redbird, and an R62A, and here's the video of that. This R62A is a regular passenger car, and this might be in regular service now on the 6th line. Okay. New York City Transit got some used buses from NJ Transit. NYCT got some used buses from NJ Transit. Ironically, these were buses rejected by the Transit Authority when they were new in 2008. But they're back. This is former NJ Transit 7113. This was supposed to originally be NYCT 2263. This is on Fifth Avenue. And a video. This one is ex-NJ Transit 7103. This was supposed to be 2253. But on the subject of buses, MNYBA and Motor Bus Society ran an interesting trip April 5th, 2025, using a TDH 5105 from 1958. So make sure your volume is turned up for these next two videos. There's Bill Ireland over here showing up for the trip. And I waited for an uphill portion along the trip to get the following video on the inside. And you'll see some familiar characters on the bus. Okay. And there's the inspection sticker. Got the serial number and everything. It's a TDH 5105 from 1958, built by GMC. And for those who think the last snowstorm was a snowstorm, this is the January 7th to 8th, 1996 snowstorm. This is at Broadway and Worth Street with a 1985 RTS on the X1. This is long before the MCIs came in. And that lady was taking her life into her hands. Thankfully, the bus didn't skid into her. Broadway and Worth again. And I knew the schedule for the put-ins on the one line on this Sunday morning. It was freezing. This is January 20th, 2002. So I made a beeline up there because I knew these trains had this powdery snow on the roof, and this is coming into 215th Street. I wish I had a video of this. This is on the River Line. This is Esopus, New York. This is during the nor'easter, on December 12th, 1992. That's an SD60. 6862 on the point. Is heading towards Selkirk. And there it is blasting through a snow pile in the crossing. For all you taxi cab fans, this one actually belongs to the police. It's at Battery Place. It's a brand new Blitz, fresh from rebuilding. Okay, back in April 23rd of 25, they needed test trains on a particular section of track. So they used the opportunity to stretch out the legs of the museum cars to make sure they were in operable order for when they needed them. And that's 3350, the lowest numbered R32 from 1964. This is at Avenue P with an R160 coming south on the F line. Whoops. Sorry. For all the New Yorkers in the show tonight, a lot of these New York videos, they're very recent, but they're for the benefit of the out-of-towners who don't really see this and might save them a trip to New York. They also brought out the Redbirds that day.
Season 50 on NBC and Peacock.
Okay, for all the out-of-towners, this is an R160. There are 1,662 of these. 1 in 4 trains, approximately, on the New York subway system is an R160. Use the wind noise. These are the 86th Street spur tracks in Coney Island Yard. The Sea Beach line is on the left. They were doing some testing of the Redbirds because the upcoming weekend was the Employee Appreciation Day and Family Day, where employees showed up with their families, and they were going to be offered rides on the Redbirds in the yard going around the loop. Now, the reason I'm taking this video is so you can, some of the cars, some of the R33s in the, well, all of them in the number series 8806 to 9075 have New York air brakes, and the brake release sounds different. And I knew the train was going to be stopping over this interlocking and releasing the brakes, so let's go ahead.
Ronnie, can you hear me?
Those are the 207 street rebuilds. They're done in-house at 207. These are done by M&K. And that's the New York air brake release. The Phase 2 R32s also have the same brake release. The M&K rebuilt R36 mainline car. These are rebuilt R36 well spare cars with the picture windows. The New York end of Coney Island barn here, where my cursor is. Okay. This confuses a lot of people. I don't know what they're looking at, but when I pull back, you see what it is. This is Main Street on the 7 line. This is from Corona Tower on the yard leads. The 7 line is at the top of the photograph. Corona Yard is behind me. Now take a look at the air conditioning units are removable. In the old days, you had to take a car out of service to fix the air conditioning, but you don't have to do that anymore. This lifts up. You see, these are lift points, and this is what this is a Kawasaki one. Kawasaki cars, I should say. This is 207th Street Yard. This is the air conditioning unit for an R142. So they do all the work here. When they're done, they take a crane, put it back in when needed. But this keeps the train on the road. When this one was taken out, a good AC unit was put in, and the train went about its business. This is Long Island City. It looks like a small city in the United States. None of this was here 30 years ago, except for this building right here. And of course, the Chrysler building. This was the first skyscraper in Long Island City, the Citicorp building in the late 80s. But we'll watch the R188 go by. 11-car train on the 7. This is leaving the 33rd Street station. Whoops. Taking a look at the fleet in general in contract order. We'll get older as we go by. These are the R179s. First train in was in 2016. There's 318 of these. They're in 4-car configurations and 5-car configurations. The ones on the J and the M run in 4-car configurations. The ones on the A run in the 10-car configurations. They also have 4-car configurations once configured R179s on the C. This is at Metropolitan Avenue. As you can see, it's in the peak of summer here. These are R160s, Coney Island Yard, laid up overnight. This is an interesting set. This is one of the first sets delivered. The first 2 10-car trains of 160s delivered in 2005 and early 2006 were 8653 to 62 and 8713 to 8722. Those first R160s had the flop-down seats behind the train operator's cab. This set had it. 8713 to 8772 had it, but they've taken them out of a lot of cars. Like this is a 5-car set. The other end of this is 8662. And if we go look at that, it's taken out in this end. Only one of the Siemens propulsion sets had them. The Siemens propulsion cars are numbered 8843 to 9102, and the 9038 to 9042 set was the only set with the flop-down seats behind the train operator cab. Little bits of trivia you learn at these shows. R142As. Most R142, this is at Mosholu Yard, most R142As were converted to 188s, cars 7211 to 7590. 7591 to 7810 remained R142As, and currently they're all assigned to the 4 line. This is what the 142As look like brand new. This is at Westchester Square. All these cars are running on the 7 line now. All the cars that ran on the 6 are on the 7 line now, except for 7591 and up. There was a small group of 70, and there was the low numbered 7600s also ran on the 6. But anyway, this was in 2002 when these were new. Everybody knew Roger Arcara, right? Well, this building over here is the 1912 headquarters of the NYWMB. This was affectionately known as Arcaro Hall after he came out with his NYWMB books. This train is on the former NYWMB right-of-way. This is track Y1A. This track ends at a bumping block. If a train needs to go to Dyer Avenue out of Unionport Yard, a lot of the times they'll bring it out of Unionport south onto this track or Y2A track on the other side and go up to Dyer Avenue. This is just before sunrise at East 180th Street. We're looking to the southeast. This is January 9th, 2026. And my business card, the address is 481 Morris Park Avenue. I'm very proud that the address on my business card is the headquarters for the NYWMB. Okay, we finished with the new text. Now we're going to look at the R68As briefly. And there was an F train coming in. Oops, let me just go back here for a second. The R68As were a group of 200, it is a group of 200 cars built by Kawasaki in 1988 and 89, 87 actually. They're numbered 5001 to 5200. They were all single unit cars, just like all the 68s, and they were unitized in the late 90s. Now we'll continue on. This is 63rd and Lex on the downtown platform. R160 on the F. Oops. Every 5-car unit of the R160s is assigned to Jamaica Yard, and they only run on the E, the F, and the R. The 4-car units are assigned to East New York Yard and run on the L, the M, the J, and the Z. Okay. This is April 23rd, 1988. This is a brand new R68A when it was still a single unit. This is just south of the New York Avenue station. And it was track testing on the Sea Beach line that day. This is what the 68As look like brand new. And they were assigned to the D line when they first came in. Take a look at the R68s, Westinghouse Amrail cars, numbered 2500 to 2924. These are completely compatible with the R68As. When they need to make service and they only have one set of 68s and one set of 68As, they'll connect them together to run an 8-car train. The B line is about half R211A as we speak. The 68s, or some of the 68s, will be eliminated by the R211s. The remainder of the 68s and 68As will be eliminated by the R268s. And the 211As that are running on the C line now will be moved to other lines, and there will be 8-car R268s running on the C together with 8-car R179s. The C will be completely 8-car trains again once the R268s are in. This set has been scrapped. This is 6230 laid up in 104th Oxford, R46. This will soon be a thing of the past. This is an R46 leaving Stillwell Yard with Luna Park Towers apartments in the background. This is being put into Stillwell Terminal to go into service to Manhattan. Train is going towards Stillwell Terminal. And if you look down, you never know what you're going to see. In 239th Street Yard near the guard booth at Barnes Avenue, there's an IRT manhole cover. When I showed this to people, they had no idea that these even existed. This is Astor Place, one of the 1904 stations of the IRT from October 27th, 1904. And here's a southbound R62A train assigned to the 6, heading towards Brooklyn Bridge. And up at Westchester Yard, this is inside the barn. This is where all the R62As on the 6 are maintained. Laid up after a snowy evening on track 51 in Westchester Yard. The structure for the 6 train is right here. This is towards Manhattan going this way. Going this way is towards Pelham Bay. Had an early report to Westchester Yard one day. They're usually early. And this was a put-in going towards Pelham Bay. The yard leads are right behind me into Westchester Yard. About 5:30 in the morning one day. Manhattan-bound train entering. The R62s, R62As will be replaced by the R262s, but that'll be after the R268 contract is completed, most likely. The R62As will go first. Hence, the mean distance before failure underperforms the R62s by a lot. So the R62s are older, but they'll be scrapped last. At least the current plans are. This is a put-in to Pelham Bay. Came out of the yard. Approaching a red signal, so the train's going to have to stop. The R62As are numbered 1651 to 2475. And a little bit of trivia. The first 30 R62As had different number plates, a different font than on the remainder. If you look at the one here, comes out a little here, but if you look at the one over here, it comes way out. So the font's different. One of those little ridiculous things I like to point out. Some of these 62As, for some reason, especially in the 2140 series, this is car 2148, still have most of the original floor. This is the original floor. Part of it got really bad, so they replaced this part of it. But some of these 2140 series cars, the entire floor is original, and it shows it. But it works. The remainder of the bulk of the 62As run on the one line. This is 181st. This is the 181st Street station. Just give me 1 second. Something I want to point out here. The line to Dyckman Street opened on March 12th, 1906. This station was not open yet. This didn't open until May 30th, 1906. The 168th Street station opened April 14th, over a month after the Dyckman Street station. 191st Street didn't open up till 1911, January 14th, 1911. So when the line to Dyckman Street opened up, the trains ran express from 157th Street all the way to Dyckman Street until these intermediate stations opened up. More ridiculous facts that I'm spewing out tonight. But anyway, let's look at these trains. You notice the car contracts are getting older, right? We're not going to stop at what's still running. We're going to continue on to what's not running anymore. If you're a TA employee, you might recognize this picture. This is the cover of the Opto manual taken in 2021. So now you know who took it. This is Grand Central on the Grand Central Times Square shuttle. We're looking towards Times Square. This is track 4. This is at the Times Square end. This is on track 1. Track 1 ends here. There's bumping block. But track 1 on the other end continues down Park Avenue South, because all these cars are maintained at Livonia Shop. There are 4 sets of 6-car trains of R62As. All the compressors were kept, so these trains charge up very quickly. Now, the car on the left is an R62A, number 2155. The car on the right is an R62, 1360. I'm going to show you some differences. The obvious one is the pantograph gate. It's rounded here. You can really see it over here better. Whoops, I'm sorry. And the 62 has a flat top. But pantograph gates can be changed. What cannot be changed is the bonnet. So check this out. Between the taillight and this molding, there's no space. On the 62A, between the taillight and this molding, there's a space. So that's how you can tell the difference. There's other things which I'm not going to go into. Just more of the ridiculous facts that I'm bits of trivia I'm giving out tonight. This is a 3 train. If you notice, the headlights aren't on. Lenox Yard, if you're going to put in a train to 148th Street, the terminal, has to ping pong out of the yard. So this train left Lenox Yard, came into the station on 145th Street, cleared a home signal behind the train, and is now going to go into 148th Street terminal. The same thing happens in the evenings when they lay up trains. Some trains come directly out of Lenox with a conductor on it and makes the first stop 145th Street. You notice this big space here? This space is here because there used to be a diamond crossover in the station. It wasn't removed until the 80s. And there's still a home signal on the platform protecting the diamond crossover that doesn't exist. There's a home signal on either side behind us and then there's home signals entering the station. Okay, the 62s when they were brand new. This is March 2nd, 1984. The cars haven't been accepted for service yet. This is the first train. This is the first car. And with the car that it's going to be replaced, these are R17s. But the 62s directly replaced first the R14s and 15s. But anyway, that's the first train of 62s traveling south out of Bedford Park Boulevard. This is what they look like when they were new. No stripes, hardly any steel dust. Now I'm going to show you something different when the proper picture comes up. This is just to show how clean they are. And they were all single units. 1310 today is on the head out. This day, 1303 was on the head out. When they unitized them, only cars that ended in 1, 5, 6, or 10 or 0 were on the head outs. And you can see the original New York City Transit seal. They took the sticker and put the new MTA logo over it. So under those MTA stick-ons, this is what's underneath. This is 1310 brand new. You see the original riding between cars is prohibited sign. This is what the doors look like with the original stickers. This is down at Flatbush Avenue when 2 service was testing on the 2. And the first 11 cars, at least the first 10, all had this car card in it telling you how much the car cost. These didn't last very long. These disappeared into people's basements very quickly. This is the first R62, 1301. This is March 4th, 84, testing on the 2 train. It's Prospect Avenue. Testing on the 7, March 31st. Now I'm going to point out something here. The original pantographs were different. If you see how it's flat on the bottom here, there's an add-on piece today that goes lower down. So these are the original pantographs. This is 33rd Street on the 7 line, obviously. This car 1304, the first car delivered in August of 84. This is at 48th Street. Take note, there's no Long Island City skyline. Not even the Citicorp Tower is up here. That wasn't under construction for another couple of years. This is from the parking lot I was talking about, which no longer exists. There's a skyscraper here now. It's 2810 Queens Plaza South, or 1 Jackson, or the JACX project, 26 stories. It was put up 2017 and 2018. The parking lot was up till about 2013, I would say, 2014. Anyway, you see there's a R30 on the double R, 8327. And looking the other way. QP's Marketplace. That was a big thing. That was advertised in newspapers and whatnot. It opened in November 1980 by the same guy who ran Modell Sporting Goods, Bill Modell. By September 1990, it was taken over by Caesars Bay Bazaar. If you're a Brooklyn native, you know where Caesars Bay Bazaar was. This is north of Court Square. Brand new 62 passing a 36. This is looking towards Queensboro Plaza. It's from that rooftop again, but showing the borrowed cars from the number 5 line, R33s. You can see they're together with 36 here. And more cars off the 6 line, 78, 08, and 09. These actually were the lowest R26 is assigned to the 6 line. These were the what was it? Scratch that, might be 1706. But these are Westinghouse cars. R36, rear end of it. There was a GO this weekend. So the southbound local was out of service. That's an R33 single, 9338. And there was one white R27, 8219. It was not a coincidence. It was painted white for the movie Beat Street, which was filmed during 1983 and released June 8th, 84. It didn't make that much money. It cost about $8 million to produce. It made about $16 million in the box office. But if you want to see this, there's also an R30 that was painted up, but not in white. This is at Alabama Avenue on the J line. Take note of the very new concrete platform. This was taken not long after they replaced the wooden platforms. Alabama was a very late one to have wooden platforms. All right, R22s. Saratoga Avenue, August 28th, 1984. That's 9302 and 03. R15, 5963. It's at New Lots Avenue. Again, this was the last year of service. These would all be out of service by December 84. Some of these became rider cars. Some of them were just scrapped. In the IRT book I'm producing, I'll give you the history of every car up to the last R36. R14s. These cars and their R15s, they had a different riding quality than the rest of the fleet. The 14s were very nice to ride. They just had a different riding quality that can't be described. Anyway, it's from 1940. It was a car from 1949, August 27th, 84 at Saratoga Avenue. Let's see what the 12s and 14s look like in the original paint scheme. This will be appearing in the IRT book in one of the volumes. This is a Down Herald photograph. That's GE R14 5846. This is June 13th, 1965. You see the standard over here. And I had to throw in one shot of an R11 just to show all the different equipment. This is back in January. This is what it looks like pretty much right now. This is up at 207th Street Yard. There were 10 of these built. One of them survives. These were to be the Second Avenue subway cars. But these were built in 1949, but they couldn't wait for the Second Avenue line to open in 2017, so they ran elsewhere. R10s. Typical R10 in 1984. These ran on the GG until April of 85. Number plate's missing, but this is car 3295. This is entering 4th Avenue when the GG went as far as Smith 9th Street. During the rush hours, the R10s would run 7-car trains. During the non-rush hours, they would run R32s and R46s. What would happen in the rush hours was that usually one train of R32s and one train of 46s ran on the GG. Everything else was R10s. And then after the rush hour, they started cutting trains, and the GG would go back to 4-car 46s or 4-car R32s. All right, now we're going to start our way up to Boston, but we're going to start at Croton Harmon, and we're going to make a few detours. All right, some interesting stuff is coming up, so wake up, everybody. This is a Croton Harmon. This is one of Metro North's heritage units. That's a GE P32 AC-DM dual mode. They have 31 of these, built from 1995 to 2001. Let's watch it go by. Okay. Amtrak has 18 of them, 700 to 717. Third rail shoe equipped to run into Penn Station in this case, but they can also run into Grand Central if they had to. Now let's see what they replaced. The FL9s. This is FL9 487. It's looking south at a northbound train to Albany. This is from 46th Street. This is just west of 10th Avenue. The FL9s were built from July to November in 1957. Okay, now you're going to see stuff you can't get anymore with any train. If you know where this is, you know New York. This is the 60th Street portal. West End Avenue is to your left. The Amtrak line on the west side used to be exposed from 60th Street all the way up to 72nd Street. Slowly but surely, it was covered over with buildings and other things, parking lots, whatever. But this is a southbound turbo train at 60th Street and West End Avenue. This is going south. We got, me and Glenn Smith, we actually got permission to walk this right away this day. Crazy stuff. Okay, now. So, we're standing on the exit ramp for the FDR of the West Side Highway. This is looking south from 72nd Street. The street here is Freedom Place. This street here is 70th Street. This is all underground today. This used to be a big railroad yard here, but it's all gone. And this track, these two tracks, are all covered over by apartment buildings. Okay, let's look the other way. This is looking towards 72nd Street. This bridge here is gone. It's been replaced. We're standing on the West Side Highway here, which is not, well, it was a different time back then. This is 30 years ago. People didn't care back then. But that's a southbound FL9 on its way to Penn Station. The car behind it is really interesting. Let me get here. Okay. This car here, 695, is an HEP unit. These were numbered 693 to 696, and they were converted in 1977. This is former New York Central 9105. But you can't get this anymore because this is all in darkness now. All right, let's go back up to Croton Harmon. Typical train to Albany and beyond. The Empire service, that's the highest numbered dual mode Amtrak locomotive right now. They're eventually going to get chargers just like nothing more. Pretty much every train out of Penn Station Empire service is now double-ended, except for the Lakeshore engine. That's the regular diesel. All right, we're slowly making our way up to Boston. Now these are the M7s. M7As, I should say. See these little things sticking out the top? Those are not on the Long Island Railroad M7s. These are M7As. When Metro North M7As go into the tunnel south of 97th Street, the vents on the ceiling, on the roofs, are closed using these little mechanisms here. That's why you have these little vent things on top. These are closed while they're in the Park Avenue tunnel. So that's what that is. This is a northbound Croton, train to Croton Harmon. That's about the relay in the yard. 336 of these are built, 334 are left in service. These are your M7As. Unlike the Long Island Railroad, they don't put the numbers on the front. The M3s. Okay, I'm going to squash the rumors about the M3s. They're safe and happy. The cars that were sent to the Danbury Railway Museum, they were surplus. They had all the electrical and motor equipment removed. Those cars there in Danbury have no motors. There were also 8 other cars, 8 other M3s that have since been scrapped. The cars to Danbury, 8002 and 3, 8106 and 07, also scrapped are 8008 and 09, 8014, 15, 8018 and 19, 8048 and 49. They were out of service for a long time, and they had all the usable parts removed so they can keep all these cars running. Metro North took very good care of their M3s, their M3As. Here they are laid up over a weekend. 142 were built, and less the 12 that I just told you about. So there's 130 left, and they're not going anywhere until the M9As come into service. And here are the M3s in service entering Scarborough. All right, making our way to Boston. This is Stamford. That's a Metro North work locomotive. That's a Jeep 35R, right by the CT Transit Garage in Stamford. This is the Berkshire Scenic Railway. It's an FL9 they have there. Now we'll take a quick look at the Roger Williams. This actually was designed to run into Grand Central. It had third rail shoes, but they didn't work very well. So they only ran it to Grand Central for a short period. This was built by Budd in 1956. It resembles a Fairbanks Morse P12-42. Okay, so let's take a look at this. If you've never been, it looks like an RDC, right? Let's take a look inside the cab. Conductor seat over here, engineer seat on the right. This is where you put your reverser, and this is where you put the throttle in. It's not in there now. Conductor seat, brake package. The engineer looks outside. Typical gauges. You got your main reservoir. You got your equalizer reservoir. Down here, you got your brake pipe and brake cylinder. New York City Transit diesels have the same exact gauges. It works the same. Interior of the cars. Getting closer to Boston. This is Meriden, Connecticut. Obviously, Mary took this video because that's me over there. Whoops, I'm sorry. The Hartford line, Springfield down to New Haven. Some trains just go to Hartford. These are ex-Amtrak 800 series GE locomotives. These are the ex-VRE Reversa cars. 1992. Produced earlier than that, but they didn't. And northbound. This is a really interesting paint scheme. really kicks in the sunlight, photograph-wise. Meriden again. All right, now we're really getting close to Boston. This is relatively close. This is Plainville, Connecticut. The Berkshire Eastern took over parts of the Guilford system and the western end of it. This is in Plainville. That's an ex-CN locomotive. There's actually Pan Am 502, which was ex-CN 9432. It's a Jeep 40-2LW. Okay, now in Boston, if you really want to get the real flavor of Boston, you go to a game in Fenway. We were up there for my nephew's graduation, one of my nephew's graduation from Boston College. So this was May of last year. But we got, my sister-in-law got tickets to a game at Fenway, and you can't get more Boston than what you're about to see now. Yes, they won that night. And it wasn't always the Green Monster. Before it was painted green, it was covered with advertising. All right, Boston subway. We're going to start on the blue line. The subway, the green line, what today is the green line, opens September 1st, 1897. What would become the orange line was actually operated in the Tremont Street subway from 1901 to 1908. We'll explain that later. A lot of people don't know that. Okay, so the blue line opened up as a trolley line. It wasn't the blue line, of course. It wasn't the blue line until 1965. Opened December 30th, 1904. And there is your proof. This is at the State Street station. Now we're going to look westbound in the tunnel from State Street. The cars we're going to see are, just give me 1 second. Were built by Siemens from 2007 to 2009. They're the number 5 East Boston cars. They're 48 feet long, 9 feet 3 inches wide, 600 volt DC. And the reason why they're only 48 feet long is that they're operating in a trolley tunnel. All right, let's get this going. Welcome to Boston.
Passengers, shuttle buses will replace orange line service between Forest Hills, that way on Friday, December 5th, and Saturday, December 6th. Regular service will be operating on Sunday, December 7th. Visit MBTA.com/orange line for more information.
Now, this was the day after Thanksgiving in 2025. So they had weekday service, but the trains were empty, which is great for photography. So that's what's going on here. The trains are normally packed, but they weren't this day because everybody was home recovering from their Thanksgiving turkey. Okay, this is at the Suffolk Down Station. We're going to board a Blue Line train. We'll get into the pantograph and third rail later on. As I said, the trains are empty because they're running weekday service on the day after Thanksgiving.
Suffolk Downs. Please keep your first.
Eddie McKernan. Okay. Now we're going to take a train, get off at Aquarium. Think about Boston. Their equipment is attractive. It's designed differently than anywhere else. It just looks nice. And the stations are bright and attractive. Boston has always been good for that, well, at least recently. Take note of the grade. The train is about to enter an underwater tunnel. Take note of the elevated type third rail. This was the first underwater tunnel, underwater rapid transit tunnel in the United States. 4 years before the line from Bowling Green to Borough Hall opened up on the RRT. There it is, diving underwater, going towards Wonderland. Okay, so the airport station is where the line converts from third rail to overhead catenary. The reasons for which I'm not going to go into, we don't have time. It's a long story. But I call this video the Pans Up video. And watch the tension in the cable, the wire. See how far it pushes it up? So we'll skip along. I call this the pans down video. See, the headways were about every 4 minutes. On both third rail, pantograph here, but now the pan's going to go away. Now we'll take a look at the orange line with its CRRC cars. It's State Street. This is a northbound train coming in.
Is now approaching. Please stand back to the left.
This is State. The destination of this train is Oak Grove.
This is interesting. Some of the builder's plates are not plates, they're stickers, but some cars do have builder's plates. I'll show you the builder's plate later on one of the red line cars. But some of these cars have plates, some of them have stickers. Now we're going to get off a train at North
Connections,
Station.
Commuter Rail, and Amtrak. This is North Station. The destination of this train is
Some refer to this as a superstation because the green line is on two levels here. There's one level down here. If you go up here, you have LRVs going the other direction upstairs. I promise you some Porker Sidley Orange Line cars. This was taken September 21. And listen to the brake release on these cars. At the downtown crossing station. Here, take a quick look at, well, not so quick look at the red line. This is at Charles MGH, Massachusetts General Hospital. This is the first of the CRC cars for the red line. There are 55 cars in service and 4 cars awaiting acceptance. Last I checked. The remaining red line cars, at least as of a week or two ago, were held up in customs. I'm not even going to get into that. But that's the story with that. And these cars are replacing these cars. The 1500s were originally single cars. They can operate from either end. The 1600s were always married pairs. But when they rebuilt the cars, they turned them all the 1500s to married pairs. And apparently, the 1500s are better operationally, mechanically, than the 1600s because most of the 1600s are already scrapped, out of service. Okay. But they're supposed to get 252 of the CRRC cars to replace everything that was running on the red line, and we're going to see everything that was running on the red line. Ooh, how'd this get in there? Okay. This is what the 1400s replaced. This is car 622. This was in the original order of 40 cars in 1911. These are the oldest cars. This picture was taken in September 1962. All of these cars were retired in 1963, replaced by the 1400s. And from what I understand, these cars made all the right noises. Okay, let's keep it moving. It's on the Longfellow Bridge. South Station. Take a look at some CRSC cars, the red line. Takes a while for the doors to open because there's no longer conductors on the train.
South Station. The destination of this train is near one.
See, there's no builder's plate in this car at all. Trying to give you the experience of actually riding the cars up there. So if you, whatever reason you can't make the Boston, at least you know what they sound like. This is a red line car that actually had a builder's plate. So there's three variations: stickers, no plate, and an actual metal plate. This is entering Kendall. There's a third rail deficiency not far up the track, and it creates for some nice fireworks. This is coming off the Longfellow Bridge into the Kendall Station. May of 2025. If these cars seem long, they are. They're 69 feet, 6 inches long. Longer than a standard. DMT standard. Okay, some of the cars that are going to be replaced are the 1800s from Bombardier, 86 built from 1993 to 1994. Some of the earlier AC propulsion cars produced for systems in the United States. Little things like the sounds of the door chimes, announcements. Little things like those sounds are something you can't replicate with still photography.
Attention passengers. The next national train is now approaching. Please stand back on the platform.
We're going to hop on a 1500 series car. 1969 Pullman. We're led by a 1700 series TDC car. Seats were replaced. Seats used to be the leather color, plastic, very attractive when they were new. Really went with the cars. There used to be a cab here. That's why it looks a little weird. These are the 1500s. They used to be double-ended. Bob, what's the count?
It is 78.
I'll keep going.
All right.
The old backlit number boards. It was nice. These used to be unpainted aluminum. When I showed pictures of these to David Gunn, and his first reaction was, this was in the 90s, why did they paint those? I'll move it on a little.
This is
Okay, this is a little weird. The train coming in is a set of 1800s, but they didn't have enough cars to make up a 6-car train. So rather than abandon the trip, they ran it with a 4-car train. And when they do that, they have a train operator in the rear cab. So when the train goes by, she's going to be telling us to move up. So watch this.
the destination of this train is L1.
This is the Park Street station. There's 3 platforms, 2 tracks. Very crowded station. On a weekend. People traveling on a normal day. And the doors open up on both sides. These are the first 2 cars in America. This has the original number of boards. This has the replacement. And then there's the replacement. Take a quick look at the Silver Line. At least three routes, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, I should say. Start out South Station. These are actually battery diesels. These can be run on battery or diesel. They have 45 of these. These are Excelsior. Oops, sorry. They have 45 of these Excelsiors. They're called XD E60s. These are from 2022 and 23. So underground, they run battery, and above ground, they can run on either. Type 9s, North Station.
The next Oak Road train arrives in 1 minute.
These are the CAF cars. Only 24 of
York
these.
Station.
These are the
destination
cars
of this
that
train is
might end up on
Riverside.
Mattapan Escon. We'll see. Okay, we're going from Haymarket to Government Center. The track we're on here formerly ran Orange Line, what today is the Orange Line. The mainline L trains ran on this track here. And from 1901 to 1908. And trolley cars ran on the track on the left. Government Center, which is coming up, used to be known as Scully Square. The trolleys from the north would loop at Scully Square on the old Brattle Loop. Trolleys from the south would terminate at Park Street, if I'm saying it right. I'm a little tired right now, so my brain is a little fried. But anyway, we're heading to Government Center. The loop track from Government Center for trains that terminate at Government Center, we're about to cross.
Yes, that's 10 floor.
The track on the left keeps, it loops back to go north. That's the Brattle Loop. When there's a blockage in service, they can send trains from Medford, Union Square, or even North Station and turn to go back north here on the inner track. The outer track goes through.
3-1 to the 92 on back on the train. You want me to bring it down?
6-1, now give it 4 minutes and bring it down.
4 minutes, bang on down.
So this is the Government Center station today. This used to be Scully Square. If I'm mispronouncing any Boston people, I'm sorry. But Orange Line trains, mainline elevated trains, used to run on this track. There was a wooden platform on the left for the elevated trains. The tracks, the turns were really tight, so it was horrible. The trains had to go really slow. So in 1908, they opened the Washington Street Tunnel for what would become the Orange Line for those trains to go through, and the trolleys returned to these tracks. So from here all the way down to Boylston, on the outer tracks used to be mainline elevated trains, and on the inner tracks were the trolleys. From 1901 to 1908. Crazy stuff.
Approaching Government Center. Doors will open on the left.
Just
Change
imagine
here
wooden
for the Blue
platforms
Line
on the
and bus
left.
connections.
7692, come on there, please. 7660.
All right. Having a little difficulty here, just give me a second. Got a little discombobulated. We'll see all that. All right, so we're leaving Government Center. We're going to Park Street.
Next stop, Park Street.
655, hold up there running now.
So at one time, from 1901 to 1908, the only trains in this tunnel were the mainline elevated trains.
Running slow, 92, all good. All around.
And at Park Street, it goes back to 4 tracks. And that was where the trolleys from the south came into. And they terminated there. All right, now we'll turning into Park Street.
644, can you give me 3 more minutes of distance? 644. 644, copy that.
Approaching Park Street. Doors will open on the left. Change here for the red line, SL5, and bus connections.
So all through this section now is the September 1st, 1897 section. This is the oldest subway in the United States. The train in front of us was having electrical difficulties. That's why it has no taillights. They eventually got it moving, and we're easing up to it. So Park Street is 4 tracks. B and C trains terminate here, but you'll see them at North Station also. Like you see there's people on this train. If you look at the schedule, the B and C trains terminate here. This is going towards Fleetwood Circle. That's a Type 7. One time there were 120 of those, 1986 to 88. More were delivered in 1997. Interior of a Type 7, going from Haymarket to North Station. Like the bus style stop alert. The Type 7s were delivered towards the end of the era of the fake wood and interiors. Another Type 7. Okay, we're going from North Station to Science Park. The guy's looking out the front window. There's actually someone reading a book on the right. It's becoming a lost art. Now, north of North Station, you see headlights ahead of us? There's 4 tracks here. They can turn trains north of North Station on the middle 2 tracks. And there you have trains ready to come back south. head up to Science Park.
Okay, you're reading at 831.
Now we have the Science Park station actually only opened August 20th, 1955. The viaduct we're looking at opened up on June 1st, 1912. Before various things opened up near here, there was no reason for a station. Now I froze it here. If you notice, all the trains except for the CAF trains, they had a Type 7 and a Type 8, the Breda cars. The Breda cars are accessible, so people with wheelchairs and have trouble going upstairs would take the Breda car. Everybody else that can walk fine is fine with the Type 7. So all the trains in Boston have one Type 8 or one Type 7 or two CAF cars. The CAF cars are not compatible with the Type 7 or Type 8. Same viaduct. This shot was taken October. Just give me 1 second. October 15th, 1967. That's a picture window car. The picture window cars were numbered 3271 to 3321. They were built 1951 by St. Louis. Along with the double-ended San Francisco cars, like car 1040 in San Francisco was the last PCC. This was produced about the same time as those cars. So this was close to the end of PCC production. This car remained in service until May of 1978, had a collision. It was scrapped in Arboway in November 1980. This is a Rich Braun Brothers shot. Okay, the Lechmere Station. This is the new Lechmere Station. Opened July 10th, March 21st, 2022. The original Lechmere Station was on level ground. What they did eventually with the Lechmere Station when it was on the ground, there used to be through trolleys that used to go beyond to like places like Medford and wherever, northwest of here. That didn't really work because a lot of those trolleys were low capacity. So what they did was they got the high capacity cars that run in the subway. They would run those in 3-car trains, and all the other trolleys terminated at Lechmere, and you had to transfer to a subway trolley. People didn't like that, but that's what they did. So this is outbound at Lechmere. And the surface station here opened July 10th, 1922, 10 years after the viaduct opened. So before then, all the trolleys were through trolleys, or most of them. This is inbound entering Lechmere. Type 8 front, Type 7 trailing. Okay, so this is the new right-of-way that recently opened. Now it's going on 4 years ago. The Union Square station opened March 21st, 2022. Now we're going to ride looking out the front window to get there. This is before the line to Medford splits off. Split off is coming up. If we were to go straight, we'd go to Medford Tufts. But we're going to Union Square, so we're going to turn off to the right. Watch, the switch is going to move. Watch the switch move. Now we got the line up to go to Union Square. We're going over the Pittsburgh line commuter tracks. Now a new car house opened. Just back a little here. There we go. This is the Inner Belt Car House, which opened in conjunction with the line to Medford and Union Square. Now, if you look on the left, you see how this gate is here? This is a track to get into the yard that was never built. There's a provision for it. This would allow trains from Union Square to go directly into the Inner Belt Car House. But to save money, or just to get the line open, there's a track on the right here that this is the only access to the Inner Belt Car House. So trains have to reverse run a little from Union Square to get in here. But in any case, it's not that big of a stretch, so it's not that big of a deal. The tracks on the far left are the commuter line to Pittsburgh. So the ramp on the left is the provision for trains to go into the yard from the inbound traffic. Now we're getting closer to Union Square. Both pockets were full, so we had to wait for this inbound train to come out. Once again, the tracks on the left, the Pittsburgh commuter line. Once it clears the circuit, then we can go. Again, all of this opened up in March 21st, 2022. And here's the facing point switch, which will get us over to the other pocket. Go straight, we couldn't because there's a train in that pocket. And you can see the bumper block right there. That's the station for Union Square. Okay. Interior of one of the Breda cars. A ride on a Breda car. This is going back from Union Square towards Leaksmere. Okay, we're going to take a quick trip up to Medford Tufts. So this is the terminal Medford Tufts. There's 5 stations on this branch from Leechmere. The commuter line to Lowell is, I might have gotten that wrong, but one of the commuter lines that Amtrak uses is on the right. And wouldn't it be nice if a commuter train came by right now? Okay, so that's a rebuilt F40. That is a Kawasaki double-decker car. Just give me 1 second. These are Bombardier cars. And that is a Hyundai Rotem cab car. This is one of my favorites. This is probably my favorite commuter stop on the entire MBTA system, just for that, the brick wall with that lettering there. This is the Chelsea station. That's a train from Newburyport to Rockport. The next station is North Station. That train is inbound to North Station. This was taken the Saturday after Thanksgiving in 2025. And this is the commuter. This is an old one. It doesn't have the green line going past Leechmere. And yeah, so I was right. That was a train from Lowell. All right, of course, you got to visit Mattapan. Let me bring something up here. Just give me a second. All right, card 3234, delivered to the MBTA on October 24th, 1945. It was in a collision July of 82. It was rebuilt in 1983 and assigned to Mattapan in 1986. Pretty much been there ever since. It crossing obviously doesn't have the original motors. When we're on the loop. Now I'm going to stop it here. The Mattapan line is apparently so famous. There was a couple from China here. They went out of their way just to come down here and photograph these PCCs. So people come from China to see this. And an Excelsior articulated. This is 3238. Now 3238 delivered to the MBTA October 29th, 1945. Also assigned to Mattapan in 1986. Oops. And Mattapan in the good old days. This is August 1955. That's a Type 5, 5707, one away from the car that's being maintained, being restored, 5706. This car was delivered to the Boston Street Railway, I should say, February 27th, 1924, retired September, it was scrapped in 1958. Now we're going to start heading south again. Now we're going to see something really cool. This is Wareham, Massachusetts, in the Cape Cod Central. This is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. One of their Polar Expresses. Has some interesting stuff in it. That's former Metro North, of course. The original number is New Haven, number 2038, went on to become 5038. This is a crazy lash up. That's a Long Island Railroad C1 car. It's 3007B and 3007A. So apparently 3007B was formerly numbered 3008. Apparently these are pretty much permanently coupled together now. And some various cars from all over the place. I'll stop at the stranger ones. Some really interesting stuff coming up. This thing here is insane. This used to run on Amtrak. That was number 9364. It was built for the Great Northern by Bud in 1955. Now, the next one has even more interesting history. This started out as Santa Fe number 508, built by Bud in 1954. It was rebuilt for the Auto Train as number 520. It was sold to the Delaware and Otsego in December 81, who resold it to West Tours in Alaska. It still has the Holland America paint scheme, and this ran in Alaska from 1985 to 2009, when the Iowa Pacific boarded, and the Iowa Pacific owns the Cape Cod Central. FL9 2026, I have plenty of pictures of this one. This is ex-New Haven 2007, went to Conrail 5007, and eventually was renumbered 2026. This was one of the first FL9s repainted by Metro North into the New Haven paint scheme, which was a big event when they did it. And Mass Coastal 2008, that's a Jeep 9 RM XCN 2020, built in 1956. Now we're going to pass through New York to head south. The New Haven engine again at from Marble Hill. This is one of the heritage units again. Let's give it a second here. All right, for the out-of-towners, you see the normal Metro North paint scheme on one of the GEs. That's the normal paint scheme. There's less and less of these. That's the Harlem River on the right. And another heritage unit coming up. It's very difficult to get a map set of the Bombardier. This is the New York Central unit. I'll bring it back so you get a closer look at that. This is February 28th, 2025. I'll bring it back so you can get a closer look at it. There you go. They've been doing a really good job with these heritage paint schemes. They've been holding up. Quick look at the Long Island Railroad. These are Long Island Railroad M7s, just to round it out. These are well over 20 years old now. Most of them. That's Syosset. So there's originally 836 of these. Some have been scrapped. Not many. We've got 10, 12. The reason why we were here was to get the laser train, which uses retired M3s. Actually uses a laser to get the leaf residue off the tracks. This has seen better days. This is all from diesel fumes and whatnot. This is former M3 9775. And this is former M3 9932. Now for something completely different. This is the Mitchell Field branch. The odds of getting a train on this that's not a special train that you know is coming in is very difficult. This is the Clinton Road Station. This is the former main line of the Central of Long Island. Just give me 1 second. The station closed May 15th, 1953 to passenger service, but this is a Long Island Railroad work train. The tracks end about, I would say, about 3/4 of a mile to the east of here. But these tracks used to go all the way through. This all the way through the Montauk, connecting at Bethpage with today's main line. Let's finish this up. These are
Eric,
MP.
we're at 60. We're at 61.
All right. I'll just show this going through. When it gets below 60, let me know.
60. We just hit it.
I'll skip through. Hold on, I'll skip through. Show you MP54, South Street, Newark, Rawway.
Train to Waldwick, stopping at Hohokus and Waldwick. Please
Well, NJ Transit doesn't use lasers to clean the tracks. They use high pressure water. Tracks. This is at Ridgewood. Called Aquatrack. They've had that for 20 years. Let me just all right, I'm going to end with this. This is the Jersey Central Station, Central in New Jersey, Central Railroad in New Jersey Station in Jersey City. This is what used to run on the Railroad and Valley line. This is a push-pull car built in 1931. But so we'll end there. I'm going to stop sharing.